Before I share this account of a particularly profound, magical, and psychedelic experience, one in which I sought contact with the Holy Guardian Angel through ritual magic, I want to emphasize the importance of caution. Though I emerged unscathed, these kinds of practices can be inherently dangerous, and I would not advise anyone to repeat this experiment without significant preparation, intention, and care. Or at all, honestly. As Alan Moore wisely cautions, magic is an art, and like any art, it requires a deeply personal approach. It is not something to take lightly. The mind is the territory in which these explorations occur, and while this doesn't make the experiences any less real, it is crucial to approach this space with the understanding that it operates on a different level of reality. The tangible and the intangible coexist, and when we engage in practices that blur those lines, especially with the use of psychedelics, we're entering realms where the rules of ordinary experience no longer apply, and there be dragons. Alan Moore reminds us that magicians more often than not end up mad, dead, or worse. That doesn't mean it's inevitable, but it does mean the stakes are high. He advises us to be very careful about what we ask for, as magic often gives us exactly that. We should experiment carefully, and this is especially true when using psychedelics in ritual settings. These substances amplify not just our perceptions, but our intentions, fears, and desires. It's critical that the psychedelic you choose is something you are comfortable with, that isn't addictive, and most importantly, won't send you spiraling into madness. In my case, for this experiment, I used psilocybin, which I have experience with, and I framed my intentions through a carefully constructed ritual with thorough preparations. Aleister Crowley also offers timeless advice that remains highly relevant. He encourages practitioners to maintain a healthy skepticism about their experiences. He stresses that we should not confuse the appearance of non-corporeal entities or visitation to unseen spheres or dimensions as objective reality. Instead, he suggests that we document these experiences in a magical diary, stepping into an observer role. He said, "It is immaterial whether these exist or not. By doing certain things, certain results will follow." This attitude helps avoid becoming overwhelmed or obsessed with the results of your practices, even though they may feel powerful and transformative. As you listen to my account, I encourage you to keep this agnostic mindset. Even this experience that I'm sharing with you, I don't fully subscribe to it as being a quote-unquote real experience. I acknowledge it as an inner experience that I had through my mind, through my nervous system, with the interaction of both ceremonial and ritual magic and the use of an entheogen. Ask yourself not only how much you want to know, but also how much you're willing to risk in the pursuit of that knowledge. Ritual magic and the use of psychedelics can indeed broaden the horizon of the mind and grant extraordinary insight, but they can also lead to dangerous delusions or destabilizing mental states if approached carelessly. Keep your mind open, but also you need to stay grounded. In sharing this story, I'm not advocating for reckless exploration. Instead, I offer a glimpse into the potential and the peril of using these practices to engage with the deeper mysteries of consciousness and the spirit. And I offer a deeply personal and subjective experience. Under no case am I saying this is what will happen if you repeat what I did, or that this is necessarily a real interaction with a real entity, although it certainly felt that way at the time. If you choose to walk this path, do so with immense respect, preparation, and understanding. These are sacred spaces we're playing in. Psychedelics are sacred tools and should be used with deep respect. The risks are real, but so are the rewards if you're ready to meet them. Welcome to the Creativity and Consciousness Podcast, a space to explore the intersection of creativity, spirituality, and personal transformation. I'm your host, Jake Cobran, visionary artist, author, and your humble guide in the exploration of our consciousness. In each episode, we dive into ideas related to magic, visionary art, and alternative spirituality. I bring you conversations with leading thinkers and innovators to help us tap into our creative potential, expand our minds, and transform our lives. Whether you're an artist seeking inspiration, a spiritual seeker exploring new paths, or someone on a journey of self-discovery, this podcast is here to help unlock new possibilities and awaken our inner power. Let's journey beyond the ordinary. Welcome to the Creativity and Consciousness Podcast. So, I wanted to read for you a ritual magic trip report. I love trip reports. The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley was one of the first psychedelic books I ever read, and still is one of the most captivating accounts of a psychedelic experience. I think a well-told trip report really has the potential to be something transformative, to guide you through an experience, to provoke curiosity, and to take your mind and imagination beyond where it may have been before. I'm into wizard shit, magic. And of course, there have been many experiments with psychedelics and magic throughout history. It's a big part of contemporary chaos magic, especially. And Crowley himself used mescaline and wrote about it, as well as cannabis. But I wanted to read a report from one of my experiences of combining psychedelics with ritual magic. And it's actually the first trip report I've ever published non-anonymously. I have published trip reports on Erowid in the past, but as far as I'm aware, this is the first time I've ever spoken explicitly about either my experiences in ritual magic or with psychedelics on the podcast. So I'm excited to share that with you. This ritual was performed on 11/11/2021. 11/11/21, 11/11/777. That's a pretty freaking magical date to do a ritual. So I think that the path was well laid for me to perform this particular rite. And so here it is. A ritual magic trip report. Knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel. The preparation for the ritual was lengthy and deliberate. I spent the day immersed in study and reverence, reading from Liber Samek, Aleister Crowley's great invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel, and the Book of Abramelin, which outlines the details of this centuries-old and hallowed magical operation. The primary aim of this ritual was to invoke the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, uniting with my higher self, the daimon, that protector and guide of my soul. This operation, sacred in the traditions of Thelema and ceremonial magic, is more than a mere ritual. It is a transformative act, a quest to unite with the divine essence within, to draw closer to the still and secret voice that whispers our higher purpose, our true will. My modest studio in Ubud had been transformed into a sanctuary, a temple not only for tattooing and painting, but most importantly, for magic. Though simple by external standards, the room held hours and hours of ritual in a certain powerful geometry. At its center lay my custom pentacle rug, inscribed with angelic sigils, now a gateway, a point of departure. The warm tropical air vibrated with the rustic sounds of Bali's night. Crickets, frogs, and the distant whisper of wind stirring the leaves, carrying with it the voices of spirits. This was my foundation, my launch pad, my wizard's tower. Throughout the day, I offered Chinang Sari, traditional Balinese offerings of flowers and incense, seeking permission from the land and the ancestors for this interdimensional work. The world felt light with resonance and free of obstacles. I watched a pure and beautiful sunset. The land had answered. Permission had been granted. Before commencing, I sought confirmation from the higher realms by drawing from my tarot deck. The first reading was unclear and muddled, leaving me hesitant. I decided to remove all but the major arcana cards, and this time, synchronicity struck. Temperance emerged. Temperance, the path of Samek. Samek, the great path that bridges the soul to its holy guardian angel, symbolizing support and spiritual alignment, much like a tent peg securing one's journey. The law of verification had spoken. It was the voice of the divine nodding in approval, aligning the currents. The stage was set. As I entered the sanctified space, my altar stood humbly. 2 candles, a brass cauldron, the temperance card, and the book of Abramelin. Frankincense filled the air, thick and heady, a fragrant reminder of the sacred. I anointed myself with Abramelin oil, and the ancient weight of this act carried through centuries of magicians settled upon me. A respectful and even nervous buzz came through my veins. Anticipation, yes, but more than that, a sense of stepping into something vast, something ancient, yet intimately familiar. Clad in black robes, I entered my magical circle, the air thick with intention. The frankincense already lit, I swirled its smoke through the atmosphere, purifying and consecrating the space with my brass cauldron. Rising, I began to perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, each motion precise and deliberate. The pentagrams I traced in the air blazed with astral fire, dissolving all unwholesome and profane energies. I evoked the 4 cardinal archangels, Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel, towering protectors at each quarter of the circle, their presence both fierce and serene. I struck the bell thrice, its echo resonating through unseen dimensions. With a firm voice I declared, Hekas, Hekas, este bibeloi, meaning, begone, begone all unholy influences. Words that rippled through the air, sealing the temple and sanctifying it for the work to come. With the space now cleansed and fortified, I opened Liber LXV, a Thelemic holy text, the words brimming with divine revelation and devotion, ready to guide the intention of the ritual ahead. I read aloud, In the name of the Lord of Initiation, Amen. I am the heart, and the snake is entwined about the invisible core of the mind. As I spoke each verse aloud, the words resonated with a vibrational power, penetrating not just my mind, but echoing down into the very core of my being. Each line seemed to hum with an ancient energy sinking into the marrow of my soul. Liber LXV, a holy book of Thelema, is seen in the tradition as a key to self-initiation, a sacred map guiding the aspirant towards the divine. It weaves together the mysteries of the heart and the serpent, offering a pathway for aligning with one's true will, the deepest, most authentic purpose of existence. With every word, I felt the external world dissolve, the noise of ordinary reality fading into the background like a distant hum. The veil between the seen and unseen grew thinner with each utterance. My mind ceased to be merely flesh. It became a conduit, a vessel for something greater. My mind opened, expanding beyond the confines of thought, becoming a clarified channel for the transmission of this divine energy. I inflamed myself with prayer. Thou, the true self of me, that art in the shrine of the silence, the source of being, the unity of all. It was time. I began to perform Liber Samek, the great call of aspiration, the invocation to the holy guardian angel. Although I had performed the ritual only once before, it felt as if I knew the words by heart, as though I had performed this rite over many lifetimes. I moved through the ritual both physically and followed along within visions in my mind, each word holding a key to unlock new gates of consciousness. Mine angel, mine initiator, thou one with me, the sixfold star, my Lord, my secret self beyond self. As the invocations unfolded, I prepared to transcend the material plane. I was poised on the edge of transformation, and to facilitate the crossing, I ingested a substantial dose of psilocybin. I chewed the fungi slowly and intentionally, and surrendered back into meditation and waiting, feeling its energy begin to course through my veins like liquid fire. A recording of a Thelemic invocation to the higher self, which I had prepared in my own voice, coupled with ambient music, played softly in the background, reminding me of my intention and anchoring me in the magically charged atmosphere. I continued to repeat the performance of the Liber Samek ritual, but within the space of my inner vision, my astral form. The boundaries of the room began to dissolve as the mushrooms took hold, drawing me into a deep trance. Devour thou me. Thou dost devour me, thou angel of the gods. The change was instantaneous, like the curtain of ordinary reality being swept aside, leaving me exposed to the deeper strata of existence. The familiar world, the known, crumbled away, collapsing into a faint whisper of memory as I found myself anchored to the earth, my body as heavy as stone. Yet paradoxically, my mind was no longer bound by the ordinary constraints of flesh. It soared, free, into the unseen dimensions where the subtle architecture of the cosmos revealed itself. Breaths of my soul, breaths of mine angel. No longer in my room, no longer tethered to time, I was suspended in the boundless void of pure potential, where the linear nature of time dissolved into infinity. Space itself expanded, stretched beyond comprehension, offering vistas of unimaginable complexity. And the colors, these were not merely colors of the material world, they were more real, more vivid, imbued with their own sentience, swirling and dancing as if the very fabric of reality was alive, conscious, and breathing. Lust of my soul, lust of mine angel. Then it appeared, the presence, the holy guardian angel. Words fall short in describing it. It was a being of such magnitude, such beauty, that it defied the limits of form. One moment it was wings of flame, each burning with cosmic fire. The next it was liquid, fluid, like a river of molten crystal, flowing with the currents of eternity, reflecting undulating worlds, galaxies born and dying in its ever-changing nexus. But as I gazed upon it, I understood I was not separate from it. This angel was no external entity. It was me, or rather, the highest expression of me, the union of the divine and the self. Soul of all souls, word of all words, come forth, most hidden light. I was the angel. I had always been the angel. The barrier between us had dissolved, and in that dissolution, I understood that this being was the highest expression of my own self. I had not just summoned the holy guardian angel, I had become the holy guardian angel. Behold that formless and that holy flame, that hath no name, the fire that darts and flashes, writhes and creeps. Snake-wise in royal robe, wound round that vanished glory of the globe, unto that sky beyond the starry deeps, beyond the toils of time. As the light of the angel surged within me, I became aware of darkness lurking at the edges of my vision. It began subtly, shadows flickering in the periphery, shifting like smoke just beyond my gaze. Then the energy of the room changed, thickened, and I could feel them, dark, shadowy entities as if made of smoke clawing their way towards me. I couldn't see them directly. Every time I tried to look to focus on their form, they would dart away, haunting the corners of my mind. These beings were the embodiments of shadow, of fear, of doubt, of all the unresolved forces within my psyche. They felt demonic, insidious, the dark reflections of something buried deep within me. Though I could never look at them head on, I sensed their hunger, their desire to pull me down, to extinguish the light that had blossomed within me. They were jealous, hungry, and venomous. It was as if I had entered a spiritual battlefield. These creatures, born of shadow, shifting and cunning, sought to overcome the divine radiance of the angel. Their presence stirred the air around me like an oppressive and threatening weight. I felt their claws reaching, scratching at the boundaries of the light. Their energy was chaotic, vibrating with malice, a swirling mass of dark intent. But they were powerless in the face of the angel's light. As they surged forward, the brilliance of the angel exploded outward like a supernova of divine energy. The shadows recoiled, burned by the sheer intensity of the light. I felt the angel's radiance wrap around me like an impenetrable shield, blinding in its purity. The creatures hissed, writhing at the edges, unable to break through. Overcome by the force of the angel's presence, they were dazzled and dissolved, retreating back into the depths from which they had come. Hear thou the voice of fire. Though they remained at the periphery, clawing and writhing in desperation, they could not touch me. The light was too strong, too pure. It radiated from the very core of my being, projecting outward like a great flame that consumed all in its path. The darkness had no place here. I wept in awe, tears of release, as I realized the magnitude of what had transpired. The dark forces, these shameful and disowned parts of me, had been outshined and vanquished by the light of the angel. The power of this divine union had obliterated all that sought to oppose it. The shadows scattered into the void, burned away by the radiance of my higher self, by the union of self and angel. Time became irrelevant. The experience stretched across what felt like lifetimes, though it was over in moments. The seeds of immortality. At some point, I recovered from my trance and stood upright. I recited the final verse of Liber Samek. I am he, the bornless spirit, having sight in the feet, strong in the immortal fire. I am he, the truth. I am he who hate that evil should be wrought in the world. I am he that lighteneth and thundereth. I am he from whom is the shower of the life of earth. I am he whose mouth ever flameth. I am he, the begetter and manifester unto the light. I am he, the grace of the worlds. The heart girt with a serpent is my name. Each word rang through me like a pulsing shock, calling forth and affirming the unity I had just experienced. The ritual was complete. Without thinking, I sat down, my body still, my mind in a state of perfect tranquility. I sat like a bolt in meditation, knees on the floor, back straight, unmoving for hours. The world had dissolved, and I was at one with the silence, an eternal and timeless stillness, beyond the toils of time. Although the vividness of the ritual has faded over time, its impact remains deeply ingrained within me. It was an experience of transcendence where I moved beyond my small, separate, and seemingly insignificant sense of self into the body of a greater being. That being was the holy guardian angel, and in that moment I realized that I am the angel. Though I may not always align with its immense wisdom or intelligence, I know now that this angel, this daimon, is forever with me, and I am forever a part of it. It felt as though the angel and I had been united for eternity, stretching back through lifetimes long before I was born into this world. I cannot say with certainty that this was the true and complete and permanent knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel as famed by magicians throughout the ages. But it was undeniably powerful and revelatory, a vision of the angel from Malkuth. I had touched the holy guardian angel, and in doing so, I had touched the deepest part of myself, the part that is eternal, boundless, and divine. Though I may falter, that connection will never be broken, for now I know I am the angel. Iao, Sabao. Such are the words. So there you have it. There it was. A recounting of one of my experiences in ritual, in which I was playing around with a combination of Aleister Crowley's Liber Semek, which is based off of the Abramelin working, intended to invoke the Holy Guardian Angel, and a dose of psilocybin mushrooms. And as a bonus, I'm going to include here a bit of a short rant about the Holy Guardian Angel that I recorded for a course or something, and I never published it. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. All right, the Holy Guardian Angel. The Holy Guardian Angel is one of the most essential ideas or concepts within systems of initiatory magic. It's not safe or fair to say that the idea of the Holy Guardian Angel has always existed within magical lore and magical systems, because if you look at a lot of old grimoire traditions that really had nothing to do with the Holy Guardian Angel, there used to be a kind of segregation between what would be known as theurgy, which is essentially to connect with the divine, and the practice of magic, which was more about achieving change. The earliest texts on the Holy Guardian Angel are the books of Abramelin the Mage, also known as the Abramelin Working, which is a 15th or 16th century grimoire. I'm not quite sure on the exact dates. It could be even older. That is a very lengthy working. It's a series of rituals that would be conducted in total and utter solitude over the period of anywhere from 6 to 18 months, under which austerities are practiced, such as no contact with the outside world. You can't leave the space of the ritual while you're undergoing the working. You cannot have sex during this time, and other austerities. There's a really fantastic movie, although it is sensationalized and it's a bit of a suspense horror movie, called A Dark Song, that is based off of the Abramelin working, and it's pretty accurate to the content of the ritual and has a representation of the Holy Guardian Angel there as well. Aleister Crowley famously bought the Boleskine house, which was later purchased by Jimmy Page, the guitarist from Led Zeppelin, to perform his Abramelin working, and he also famously botched the ritual and essentially didn't complete it. And the ritual also involves summoning a lot of and binding a lot of demons and demonic forces, after which, when you achieve knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, you have control over those demons. And Crowley quite famously didn't complete this, so he kind of summoned all the demons without banishing them. And this is considered to be very, very dangerous and foolish. And some actually attribute the lack of completion in that ritual to Crowley's demise. In terms of associations to other traditions or other religions, I think there's a lot of similarities between the daimon of the Stoics and the ancient Greeks and their pursuit of eudaimonia and the concept of the Holy Guardian Angel. It's essentially the higher self. I think that there have been mystics and seekers of all traditions throughout all ages that have essentially sought the highest version of oneself. And that, to me, is essentially what the Holy Guardian Angel is. The Oversoul, perhaps, could be another name for it. I think in yoga it's termed the Atman or something. But I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that these are all exactly the same thing. They're just maybe different maps of the same territory, so to speak. To me, the Holy Guardian Angel is a completely and highly subjective experience that represents union with the highest version of ourselves, that which transcends the ego or the individual small sense of self. Crowley devised a shortened ritual of the Abramelin working, which is called Liber Samek. It's called Liber Samek because Samek, which is the path on the tree of life in the Kabbalah that corresponds to the temperance card, which also corresponds to Sagittarius, is the path that leads directly to the sphere of Tifereth. And the sphere of Tifereth, which has associations with the sun and also has associations with Christ consciousness, is where the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel takes place. So I think the Kabbalistic context is actually important to understand, because if you understand the symbolism of the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, and you understand what the sun represents and its associations to figures like Christ or Osiris, the dying and reborn God, that which is eternal and immortal, and its associations with the soul, you can begin to understand a little bit of what the kind of absurd label of the Holy Guardian Angel is actually pointing at. And I've performed Liber Samek many times and have had my own personal experiences of the Holy Guardian Angel or of knowledge and conversation in a way that to me made me realize that it was an essential aspect of myself that's not separate from myself. And although it could be symbolically represented as a separate entity, it is me and it has always been me, perhaps transcendent through multiple lifetimes. Speaking about the Holy Guardian Angel is something that's somewhat controversial in magical circles. There are teachers such as Jason Louv, who has his magick.me school, that assert that people should not speak about their Holy Guardian Angel at all, and that's because it's such a personal, such a subjective experience. It's a topic that presents itself with an intricate tapestry of symbolism, mysticism, and individual sovereignty. And I think that you could essentially look at it through the lens of what you might call the big you that exists behind and beyond the little you, which is your everyday individuated ego and small sense of self. In Crowley's world, the Holy Guardian Angel is not so much an external celestial being as it is an ultimate representation of your true will, the most authentic, unfettered expression of yourself. And it's as if each of us has this grandiosity, this largeness playing deep within us, but we've been distracted by everyday life and societal expectations. We get further and further away from it. So the work of magic, in Crowley's view, is essentially to really listen to that deepest and most essential part of yourself, which is synonymous with the true will, and it's synonymous with the holy guardian angel, the essential self or the true self. Crowley's Thelema invites you to conduct the most radical kind of introspection, to go beyond mere self-inquiry and perform a metaphysical surgery on your very soul. The holy guardian angel is not a savior nor an intercessor. It's a mirror reflecting your ultimate nature. Just as many teachers have pointed out that you are not merely a skin-encapsulated ego, but the entire universe experiencing itself, Crowley's conception of the holy guardian angel encourages you to step back from the mundane, petty desires that cloud your judgment and realize that you are something far greater. Communicating with this angel is no Sunday morning prayer. It's an ordeal, and it's a rite of passage often referred to as the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Here, conversation doesn't mean idle chit-chat. It's a profound, life-altering communion. It's the blending of the little you with the big you. For me, the term conversation is somewhat accurate because I feel that when you do have the knowledge and conversation experience, of which I'm not fully certain if I've had or not, but I think I've had at least glimpses of it, you then perceive life as being a conversation with that angel in the way that all the different circumstances of life manifest. And so information or words could be given to you through the various symbols of the circumstances of your life and how they arise. And that's my experience of the holy guardian angel, that it speaks to you symbolically through lived experiences. So when Crowley speaks to the holy guardian angel, he's essentially offering a metaphor, although a powerful one. The angel is you, but it's the you that you've forgotten, overlooked, or perhaps never knew existed. It's the you unshackled by social conditioning, the you that is in perfect harmony with the ebb and flow of the cosmos, the you that knows its true will. And so all of these different magical systems, whether it's the Order of the Golden Dawn or the tantalizing promises of Thelema, it's aimed more at awakening you to your own divine nature. It's your personal symphony that has always been playing and just waiting for you to listen. It's our highest, most essential self, who we were before we were born and who we'll always be after we die, that we forget, that we lose track of in the monotony of our daily existence. And that's the true aim of magic. It's not to be able to get more women in bed with you or to be able to influence the stock market. It's to remember that all of this is just a dream. And that we always are, we always will be eternal, unending and infinite, vast, powerful, and great. And that large, vast, and eternal presence is our true self, the culmination of our true will, and it is our holy guardian angel. Thanks again for listening to the Creativity and Consciousness podcast. My name is Jake Coburn. I'm aiming to bring new episodes every week related to the subjects of magic and art, consciousness, and creativity. And if you're enjoying these podcasts, please share these podcasts with somebody, subscribe for new episodes, And if you felt like giving me a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would definitely appreciate that as well. And if you liked this episode, send me what you thought. You can send me your thoughts through Instagram or through email, and I would really appreciate some feedback. So, sending you much love and blessings in these crazy times.
Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. I am the DFT Elf. Escape into your dimension. New episodes of the Creativity and Consciousness podcast drop each week. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to stay connected and join a like-minded community, hop in the Telegram group where we discuss the latest episodes and ideas they spark. Sending you instant love and gratitude for being part of this journey.